Hemera Kale, as the ancient Greeks might have said, a snapshot view on air power in a contested environment from cozy and sedate Switzerland might seem paradox, to say the least. Sorry, I've overtaken you. But
it's okay. Mr. Christian F Anrig is Reserve Lieutenant Colonel and Deputy Director of Doctrine of the Swiss Air Force. From 2007 to 2009, he was a lecturer in air power studies in the Defense Studies Department of King's College London. He has also published various articles and book chapters covering topics from European military transformation to modern air power. Air forces and institutions across Europe have invited him as a speaker on air power.
Thank you. Well, nonetheless, thank you so much for hosting me here. It's a great privilege, and I'm enjoying this conference. Tanks through the crosshairs of fighter bombers flying at 15,000 feet, well outside the range of the ubiquitous anti-aircraft artillery, and shoulder-launched surface-to-air missiles during the Libya campaign. It is from these altitudes that relatively cheap precision-guided munitions can be employed against fielded forces and other targets. It is from these altitudes that even mobile targets can be engaged. It is from these altitudes that collateral damage concerns can be accommodated for. In short, it is from these altitudes that modern air campaigns are waged. The medium altitudes have provided Western forces with a sanctuary from where to strike precisely with near impunity. In essence, the shift to the medium altitudes has allowed the West to draw up an asymmetric advantages like almost no other domain has done. Yet the medium altitude approach was anything but obvious at the dawn of the post-Cold War era. Back in the early days of Operation Desert Storm, some wing commanders elected to attack at low level. Given the threat of short-range air defenses, the results were sobering, and on the fourth day of the campaign, the Joint Force Air Component Commander ordered United States Air Force units to attack at medium altitude and suggested to coalition partners to do the same. Not only was attacking at medium altitudes a safer option, but it also allowed for more effective target acquisition and navigation. Compared to the several hundred losses over North Vietnam, the coalition suffered 38 combat losses in Desert Storm, far less than expected. Over half of the downed aircraft were lost at low altitudes. Above the effective altitude of anti-aircraft guns and shoulder-launched missiles, successful defense suppression enabled the Air Armada to take on an army with near impunity. Yet precision strike was a prerequisite to effectively operate from the medium altitudes. Though Desert Storm went down in history as a precision air campaign, only 7.5% of the weapons expended were precision guided, and only a relatively small amount of coalition aircraft were equipped to laser designate targets from the medium altitudes. Through workaround solutions, the UK Royal Air Force, that was geared up for NATO-style low-level attack, managed to field a precision capability. Once medium altitude operations began, Royal Air Force losses dwindled significantly. After the initial low-level counter-air strikes, the French Air Force also shifted to medium-altitude operations, employing laser-guided air-to-ground missiles. Medium-altitude operations became the norm after Desert Storm, yet that paradigm shift still needed to be digested by most European air forces. As a consequence, the necessary precision strike capability persisted to be a scarce European commodity throughout the 90s. It was Operation Allied Force at the end of that decade that truly spurred precision strike ambitions across European air forces. And these days, as we see above, the vanguard of European alliance air forces can conduct tank plinking akin to that of Desert Storm with devastating effect. And though some might still regard precision munition stocks as inadequate, they have reached far better levels than in 1999. To secure the medium altitudes, medium and long-range surface-to-air missiles require particular attention. In 1991, a defense suppression campaign made the shift to medium altitudes possible. Over 500 anti-radiation missiles were expended during the air war's first 24 hours alone, teaching Iraqi surface-to-air missile operators a crucial lesson: activating their radars meant in fighting attack. Medium altitude operations significantly minimized losses. In Bosnia, from 92 to 95, losses were down to a total of 4 aircraft, 3 of them downed by infrared missiles while flying at lower altitudes. Over Kosovo and Serbia in 1999, a medium altitude approach and a considerable defense suppression campaign minimized losses to 2 manned aircraft. In light of an estimated 800 surface-to-air missiles fired at NATO aircraft, the importance of defense suppression during Allied force cannot be overstated. Since Yugoslav air defenses managed to down only 2 manned aircraft in exchange for several hundred surface-to-air missiles, you can make the argument that ground-based air defenses performed rather poorly in 1999. To provide you with the full picture, Yugoslav SAM operators also downed in excess of 20 remotely piloted aircraft. Still, Serb behavior in 1999 teaches some enduring lessons. The achievement of Yugoslav air defenses was not their kill ratio, but the fact that they managed to survive by remaining dispersed and mobile and activating their radars only selectively. Of course, static SA-3 sites, as on this slide here, were easy prey for Allied fighter bombers. Yet the Serbs also managed to dislocate some of these batteries, thereby enhancing the survivability. SA-3 units were reported to fire their command-guided missiles in salvos and to engage their targets, not using their radars. While their tactics are still shrouded in secrecy, I suppose that they might have used optical devices to guide their missiles. This tactic, combined with low-frequency radars for target detection, might have caused the loss of the 1-17 stealth bomber early in the campaign. The net result of Yugoslav air defense tactics in 1999 was a persistent, albeit significantly reduced threat that nonetheless required continuous defense suppression. To draw lessons from Kosovo, we need to bear in mind the discrepancy in technology available to both sides. While the Western Air Armada could draw on the latest aerospace technology, the Serb air defense inventory largely consisted of Soviet legacy systems, mainly SA-3 and SA-6 batteries. In future conflicts, so-called underdogs might field more modern systems to contest the medium altitudes, particularly very mobile long-range air defense systems that already play an important role in area denial might contribute to that effort. Another and less costly option might be to rely on surface-to-air missile systems with passive target detection and engagement sensors. a mode of employment akin to that of Serb SA-3 operators in 1999, launching their command-guided missiles using passive sensors. These days already, taking out concealed man-portable surface-to-air missile systems is nearly impossible. While they are by far not as effective as radar-guided missiles and can only be effective at altitudes of about 10,000 feet maximum, their survivability is a major asset for an underdog. A system that draws on the advantages of man-portable air defense systems, i.e. non-emitting sensors, and that has an effective engagement envelope that reaches into the medium altitudes, poses a significant threat even to a modern air armada. While advanced long-range surface-to-air missiles have been appreciated as a serious threat for years, unorthodox, non-emitting systems raising the coverage to the medium altitudes might be the cheaper alternative for an underdog. And those systems already have proven effective in real combat, and not only in 1999. By challenging the West's medium altitude approach, they have the potential to affect the offense-defense balance and thus to erode one of the West's main sanctuaries. Besides the shift to the medium altitudes, the second major paradigm of the post-Cold War is standoff precision strike. It has become one of the game changers. Standoff weapons mated with space-based intelligence have yielded an asymmetric advantage to the West, denying operational depths and sanctuaries to potential opponents. In particular, standoff precision strike allowed destroying essential nodes of the opponent's integrated air defense system and thus paving the way for the medium altitudes. Standoff precision strike not only requires long-range precision weapons, but also sensors that can acquire targets from a safe vantage point. As such, space-based assets are intertwined with long-range precision strike. Space offers the ultimate high ground for targeting without infringing upon national sovereignty. As recent events have borne out, however, the West's asymmetric advantage in standoff precision strike is gradually eroding. Standoff precision strike is no longer the West's prerogative. We now see an increasing number of countries wielding a deep strike sensor-to-shooter loop. Particularly emerging powers aspire to field standoff weapons and a satellite order of battle. Commensurate with its increasing importance, space has been referred to as the West's Achilles heel. With standoff precision strike becoming the norm of modern conventional warfare, operational depth has significantly shrunk, or in the case of European nations, is simply no longer existing. This has far-reaching corollaries on how we are supposed to wage war in a high-end scenario. Within a decade of land-centric operations behind us, the whole issue of force protection has revolved around irregular warfare threats. Yet only few European nations have embraced force protection in a high-end scenario involving long-range precision strike threats. Finland and Sweden foremost amongst them. The Swedish Air Force is reclaiming its decentralized basing, and the Finns have upheld those capabilities and are now honing their skills. The Finns are well aware of the fact that air bases and other fixed installations are exposed to long-range precision strike, to break the opponent's targeting cycle and to prevent destruction on the ground. Finnish doctrine thus soundly calls for dispersed fighter operation and emphasizes mobility of air surveillance assets. The ability to absorb an opponent's first strike is important because only what remains intact finally matters on the battlefield. And this logic is similar to nuclear strategy, which is predicated on second strike. The nuclear submarine eludes destruction through concealment. In a similar vein, an air force that embraces survivability attempts to elude destruction through dispersing assets. The aspect of force protection in a high-end scenario must thus become a core component of any credible conventional deterrence posture. A conventional deterrence posture against long-range precision strike also requires preparedness to respond in kind, and in this regard, the Hellenic Air Force is well poised. Your offensive standoff capabilities force a potential opponent to divert resources to protect his own assets and thus further raise the entry threshold. Over the last 2.5 decades, Western air power has benefited from an offense-defense pendulum that largely favored the offense. In essence, Western air forces could strike with near impunity, be it from the medium altitudes or be it from secure bases. Advanced surface-to-air missile systems are about to contest the medium altitudes. Since the bulk of Western precision-guided munitions are optimized for release from medium altitudes, keeping the high ground remains vital, particularly to run a protracted air campaign. Stealth might help to secure the medium altitudes in an increasingly contested environment, yet will it also provide answers to deal with unorthodox surface-to-air missile threats that rely on non-emitting sensors? In light of standoff precision strike proliferating, operational depth has considerably shrunk. Air bases, logistics, and other vital elements are likely to be targeted in future conflicts. In particular, potential opponents might realize that competing with Western air power at the tactical level is bound to fail. In contrast, standoff precision strike enables waging air war at the operational level and thus bypassing the tactical. With long-held sanctuaries gradually eroding, notions of force protection require thorough revision. In a contested environment, conventional deterrence takes center stage, yet credible conventional deterrence not only depends on offensive capability, the issue of force protection is equally important. Only what remains intact matters on the battlefield. This is enough for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anrig.